And I've got my background. I thought you were doing a background.
Show up. I haven't. I've got time. I could have done that. I may still do. Good morning. Good Sunday morning to you. Thank you for joining Duncan and I on... Actually, it's a gloriously sunny day. You can tell when I do this. That's my gloriously sunny day poise. You see that? The sun's streaming in. What an amazing week it's been for Stadia. Duncan, how are you, my friend?
I'm just looking outside and it looks like it's going to bucket.
Now, you've gone very quiet on me.
Okay.
Oh, you've still gone quite quiet on me. That might just be me, so we're fine. I think that was me. Sorry, keep going. You were saying?
I said it... for you, it may be sunny, but for me, it looks like it is going to absolutely chuck it down today.
Oh, no. Really?
Yes, it's not looking too great out there.
Oh.
But yes, that's another fun week for Stadia. Lots of positives, lots of talking points. So I think we're going to have a fun show today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it and it kind of built up as the week went on as well, didn't it? Just when we thought, oh, well, yeah, it's an okay week, it sort of started getting busier and busier and busier, and almost to a crescendo. That's a nice word, isn't it, for a Sunday morning?
Yeah, you're definitely too lively for a Sunday morning to come off of them sort of words. Come on.
I know, yeah. I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're going to be touching this when we go into things, but I think it was an okay to a good week. I think a lot of people have got slightly carried away. I'm going to stick with that, but it has been a better week for Stadia in my opinion. It still hasn't been a great week, but it's been a much better week.
Oh, fair point. And you're always, as always, mate, the voice of caution and pragmatism. And there's nothing wrong with that. When you're like me, you're a bit of a sort of cocker spaniel and you've forever got your tongue out and your tail wagging and being overly optimistic. So I think that's a good thing. There's nothing to complain about. Right. Shall we crack on with the latest news? Why not?
The latest news from Stadia.
Right then. So here we go with the first... Of course, as always, news brought to you by the ever-expanding, ever-evolving cloudywithachanceofgames.com. And the first piece of news that we've got, as you can see on the screen there, is Risk of Rain 2, confirmed for Stadia. But more than just that, Duncan, this is actually kind of falls into the first for Stadia camp to a degree, doesn't it?
It does. We're getting a new level, which is coming to it first to Stadia. So we're getting the first look at a new sort of area in the game, and it's going to be on Stadia first. It will be going to other platforms, but this is the first real exclusive content for Stadia from outside of games, do that what Sony and Microsoft do with PlayStation and Xbox, where they buy up exclusive content, like the like the famous one over the last couple of weeks is Spider-Man on Avengers. So this is Stadia dipping their toe into this sort of market. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any more of this coming. And this is going to be the first. This game was actually released in early access on PC, but we're going to be getting the version 1 of the game, so that's the full version of the game. And there's still actually a roadmap as well to come.
No, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't familiar with the game. I thought it was something else completely. I thought it was what was that? Was it Dark Rain? There was a game that used to be on PlayStation, I think it was. Was it Dark Rain, or I don't know, Rain with a chance of cloudy, something like that. But so this isn't a new game. It's obviously number 2 in the series. Presumably, this was a PC only title before.
Yes, it was on the PC before anything else, like normal for these sort of early access games, and it is it's not a bad game. It's getting rave reviews, and as far as I remember, which I'm probably wrong, it's a rogue-like, so you can play it and it keeps on changing. These sort of games would be perfect for state share, hint hint, nudge nudge, but there's nothing about that. But it looks like it's going to be good fun, and it's another co-op game, so we can get in and play with people. So
definitely one. Yeah, it has a lot. I mean, it's got an amazing art style, which is almost neon, almost discotheque-like. There's an old word from my childhood, but it's essentially, and there's what I like. Look at that, coming soon, and then it literally just says Stadia, which I think is awesome. But yeah, so it looks a little bit like No Man's Sky, where you are essentially trying to find your way home. So you're battling through a multitude of different planets and scenarios and building and looting and doing other stuff. So yeah, I think it's an absolute classic Stadia game. So I'm really glad that's coming. That's a win-win, I think, and particularly the fact that we're actually getting. Oh look, I've got a little illuminated nose. Isn't that cute? We're actually getting this exclusive level, or at least we're getting it first. Let's get this right. That's how it should be said, isn't it? We're getting a level first.
Yes, we don't know how long it's going to be. My feeling is, I'm going to put my neck out in the line here. I think we're going to get this like a couple of weeks early, and it's going to go on to consoles, the other consoles.
Do you see this as the future for Stadia? Whereas we're in, we basically get some content exclusively. You know, maybe a level, maybe a character. I don't know, some costumes or something, some skins. So it's almost like the pre-order bonus that we've historically got with other, on other platforms, and we are getting on Stadia as well, where you pay up before everybody else, you get your skins and stuff. So we're kind of getting a pre-order bonus, if you like, for the fact that it's on Stadia. Do you see that as being something that we'll see more and more of on this platform?
Yes, I think they are going to be going down this route. We've actually seen it in another game as well. Your favourite game on the Friday night. We have got that as well.
PUBG?
Yes, can you...
I was scratching my head thinking, what's he talking about? My favourite game on a Friday night. Has the wife been talking again?
Yes. But...
safe word.
Exactly. With our parachutes and the frying pans. So yeah, I do see this is going to be, a lot of people like this, a lot of people don't like this, but it is a common thing within gaming, is you get exclusive content on platforms just to make it more appealing. Like, we'll go back to PlayStation and them getting Spider-Man on Avengers. That has swayed a number of people in, and I can say this with a clear conscience, a number of people in the Stadia community have actually picked this up on PlayStation instead of Stadia because of that exclusive content. So I think we are going to see this going forward for Stadia, and this is only the start of it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really cool. Certainly something to look forward to, and it's great to see. That's been one of the most one of the things at the forefront of this week as far as Stadia are concerned. So let's have a look at our next news item, which is that, funnily enough, we've got an exclusive demo on an amazing new game that was announced at the Ubisoft Forward, which we'll talk on more in a moment. So, Immortals Fenyx Rising, previously known as Gods and Monsters, and it was announced by none other than Mr. Phil Harrison, the vice president of Google and the general manager of Stadia, that we will be getting an early access demo of this game, and that's available to everybody. So even if you, and he actually said this, which is something I meant to cover in the news actually, but we'll cover it in a second. So anybody who has literally a Gmail account can now go and sign up to Stadia. You no longer have to sign up to the pro trial, which required a credit card. That's all been, as far as I'm aware, that's all been taken away now. So you can still do a pro trial, and I'd highly recommend it. But this is an example of where somebody could come along without putting down their credit card details and actually get to play a full level, an exclusive level, because the level won't be available to anybody else. It even has some little Easter eggs in exclusively for Stadia players. So you could go in, get yourself a free account to try Stadia, play this free exclusive demo, and decide whether you want to extend to a full pro subscription or not, which I think is brilliant.
Yes, this is what a lot of people have been actually calling for Stadia to do. Give people the chance to actually try Stadia to show how good it actually is. So this is going to hook in. I'm going to say we're going to get a load of people who are going to come in and try this. The only caveat I'm going to put into this is we just have to be worried what day it's going to be coming out on, because if I was Stadia, I would be trying to maybe get this out relatively soon, because we're just about to hit an absolute manic sort of period for gaming. We've got Watch Dogs, we've got Assassin's Creed, we've got FIFA coming out, we've got Madden's already out. We're just getting so many games, so you really need to get this out there so people can try it before all these big games hit and people maybe forget about it. And because I think they're trying to pull people in from different platforms and not just the Stadia crowd. It's they're wanting to get in the whole gaming industry just to try it. If you go down to the next slide, sure, there's actually more pictures there as well.
Ah, yes, thank you. It's a gorgeous art style. A lot of people have compared it to Breath of the Wild. I can see that. I can understand why. I think Breath of the Wild certainly started an art trend that we're seeing across quite a few different titles. And why not? As I said the other day on our live stream of the Ubisoft Forward, it's an art style that suits next generation because it actually allows them to have minimal textures, so that they can expand on the scale of the game itself. So I fully understand why they're doing that. If you go down the photorealistic route, you have to have photographic textures which take up masses of space. We know next-gen consoles and indeed next-gen cloud platforms can cope quite adequately with that, but it is certainly with consoles it all comes down to space on hard drives. So I can see this being the art style of at least the coming couple of years, and there are some elements of it that are similar, but I think the key thing for me that I took away from the Forward was it actually, if anything, looks like an evolved version of Assassin's Creed, and in fact the character progression menus and the choice of skills and so on was virtually straight out of the most recent Assassin's Creeds in any case. Either way, a gorgeous looking game. It's been a little while in the making. Clearly, because we had the Gods and Monsters early play release debacle stroke gate a couple of months ago, where members of our community actually discovered that they could play a very early version of the game. We knew that something was up. We just didn't know the kind of detail of it. So, really excited about that one, Duncan. Are you as excited as me, or am I just being a silly Billy?
You're always a silly Billy.
There is that.
Yes, but no, I am excited about this game. But again, if this was coming out earlier in the year, I would be picking this up day one. My only concern is, unless we get Uplay Plus, it may be overshadowed somewhat because there's just so many games coming out around that time, and people will be stuck into them ones. I will be picking this game up. It's just when I'm going to be picking this game.
Yeah, and interesting that you should mention the U word, the U plus word. As you know, it's something that gets trotted out.
I can pre-order now on Stadia, and it's... Sorry.
Sorry, Duncan. You dipped out on the audio. At least you did to me, and I assumed you'd pause. So I beg your pardon on that. I spoke over you. No, I was just sorry. Go on. Repeat what you said.
Oh, I was just saying you can pre-order this now on Stadia. So it's we're getting into the fun season now. Like we've been talking this for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's going to be games after games after games after games, and this is another one. And we know it's coming the 3rd of December now, and I'm just a bit worried that it may get overlooked if Uplay Plus isn't on the system, because the more established games are already there with Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs Legion, and then the swear word, which is Cyberpunk as well. We've got so many games coming here over a short while. There's only so much money people have.
And somebody pointed out, I think it may have been Stadia Revolution actually, who is one of the Cloudy with a Chance of Gaming crew, that it was an interesting, in terms of being able to pre-order for the first time ever. One of the options was that you didn't have to pay up front, whereas with Hitman and Destiny Beyond Light, you actually have to pay for the game as part of a pre-order. And somebody said, and I thought it was quite astutely, this almost certainly must be a nod to Uplay Plus, on the basis that if that's coming up between now and launch, and you've paid for this game, and you suddenly find that Uplay Plus is part of your pro subscription, you're going to be mightily upset. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's got a slight part to play with it, but not the whole of it. If you look at the other 2 games which are up for pre-order, which are Hitman 3 and Destiny, what's it, New Light or Old Light or whatever light it is?
Beyond Light.
Beyond Light.
Light and Beyond.
If you want to get into sort of technicalities, they're just adding on to what's already there. So they're like expansions. And in the case of Destiny 2, to my judgment, you can't cancel that pre-order because you actually get cosmetics stuff straight away. So I think this is our first proper pre-order on Stadia. As it's not getting added into like the hub in the Word of Assassination for Hitman, or it's not an expansion in the case of Destiny 2. So we'll have to wait to see if this is a common trend, or if this is just a one-off just to hook people in to try the demo.
Excellent. Well, I'm certainly really hyped about this game. I think it looks stunning. You know, I love most of the stuff that comes from Ubisoft anyway, particularly the Assassin's Creeds and the Far Cries and the massive, open world games, of which this is one. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm also I was a little disappointed we didn't hear about Uplay Plus, to be fair. We'll talk more about that in a second. But nonetheless, I think this is a bit of a nod towards it coming. And we know it's coming. It's just a case of when. So next on the news, next on this is the final piece of news. This one passed me by. Baldur's Gate 3, crowd choice, will be coming with the early access, which is... we've even got a date for that, haven't we? So, sorry, let me reword all of that into something that resumes a recognisable language. So, crowd choice is coming to Baldur's Gate 3 when we get early access launch, and not when it's just at the full game.
Yes, we're getting that on the 30th of September. It is coming at launch. They've put that into a blog post on Steam, saying it's coming to both YouTube/Stadia, and it is also coming to Twitch for the PC version of the game. So what crowd choice is, what this is going to mean is, so if you're playing the game, there's lots of dialogue choices. So You're given options like, do you want to steal from this person? Yes, no, we'll try it and see. And then people can vote, and whatever the people vote who's watching your stream, that is what action actually happens. So this is going to it's a bit more interactivity between streamers and their audience. So it is something a lot of people have been crying out for. With this coming at launch, we should be hearing about more of this YouTube integration in the next week or so. We've still got the elephant in the room with Death by Chocolate. That's implementing both crowd choice and crowd play. So it looks like we're weeks, if not days, away from actually getting these features on Stadia. So it's going to be an exciting time in the next couple of weeks.
Talking of Dead by Daylight, aka Death by Chocolate, you were telling me off record there. You weren't telling me, it was completely off record. Right, okay. You didn't hear anything about Death by Chocolate other than it's Duncan's favourite pudding, folks. But watch this space for breaking news. I'm sure we're days away from it. Right, okay, little hint there. Thank you very much for putting me back on the straight and narrow, Duncan. Without further ado, let's crack on with the next thing that we've got, which is perplexing.
What's up, Rokk?
Almost caught short there. What?
So what's up, Rokk?
Oh, thank you, Duncan. I'm glad you asked, mate, because you know what I can get like when it comes down to how up and rocky I am. Did Ubisoft Forward, or Ubisoft Forward as the rest of the world calls it, turn out to be as big for Stadia as I'd hoped it would?
That's a good question. For me, no, it didn't. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think it was as good for Stadia than people think. I think everybody got hyped up, and if you've seen our live stream, we all jumped out from our seats, basically going, "Oh my goodness, there is the big Phil himself. He's actually there. There's a big Stadia logo. Oh my god!" And when you actually sit back and, for me anyway, and think about what actually happened from it, I think we got carried away because Phil has been missing in action for about a year now, and I think we just got
Yes. Bless him.
Bless him. And I think we just overreacted to actually seeing him there and actually announcing that we're getting a game demo. If this was any other console, any other place, it will be like, okay then. That's it. You don't see people overreacting when they actually see the leaders of the organization there. For Stadia as well, if you actually go through the news or what was actually shown, I don't want to mention this because it is coming to Stadia. It has been confirmed. LogoGate made an appearance at the Ubisoft conference, which we didn't talk about, like the Division 2's new update. There was no Stadia logo on it, and other things like that. But we know the updates are coming, so there's just seems to be still a bit of a disconnect between a lot of things, and Stadia is still missing in action. I said on a couple of places that if I was going to give this a show a rating from a pure Ubisoft sort of rating, I would give it a B+ sort of level.
Okay.
That's good. From a Stadia perspective, there is from a C+ sort of thing. It's yes, they were there. They actually made an appearance, and them actually making an appearance, I think, has just inflated people's views on how amazing this was. Phil Spencer turns up with a load of things. I can't say his name from PlayStation. Jushui, the head of their indie studio, he turns up in a lot of places. This is the first real time that Phil Harrison has actually turned up. So I don't think this was as good as people are making out. I can say, yes, there was lots of Stadia logos, yes, but there was lots of Stadia logos missing as well, if you're going to be absolutely fair. I think it was good for Stadia, but it wasn't great. It wasn't amazing, and I think people have just went slightly over the top because the news from the actual heads of Stadia has been pretty light.
Right, okay, well, that's just popped a little pin in my bubble. I thought, and you've got to put it all in, it's all relative, isn't it? This is how we have to look at it. It is all relative. We've had, as you rightly said, we've not heard anything official from any of the seniors at Stadia for some time. So to see Phil Harrison taking pride of place against a huge S Stadia logo was, it was warming. It was good for the old team morale, I guess. That's the way to look at it. We know that Ubisoft have a very close relationship with Google Stadia. It goes all the way back to Project Stream when they tested Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Was Odyssey, wasn't it? It wasn't Origins. Yeah, it was Odyssey, back in the demo days. So, it goes all the way back to there. We know that they're right in bed with Stadia, and we know that Uplay Plus is coming, which means most of the stable of current games will also appear there. So on that basis, you're right. You could look at it and say, well, there was nothing there that we didn't know. We knew that we would have games with Stadia logos on. But seeing Phil Harrison, and I think as well, seeing that we were getting some exclusivity around Fenyx Rising was heartwarming. And, in a world where Stadia is kind of, at this moment in time, a footnote, albeit an early doors footnote. It's not that it's footnote by the door and out, it's just in and in the footnote. I think that in itself was positivity. So I agree with you that we may have got a little bit overexcited, maybe a little bit hyped as a community, but I think a lot of that comes because we, on the one hand, at the moment we've got next gen Xbox with all of its 299s and its teraflips and flips and flops, and on the other hand we've got Sony, and there's going to be more of that this week, of course. This Wednesday will be when they almost certainly announce PlayStation 5 prices and availability. So Stadia is always going to get squeezed out of the news unless it comes up with something massive. And this was, for the community, massive. Not for the gaming community, but for the Stadia community. Because it reminded us that, we're still cared for. And I remain adamant that this year we will continue to be kind of low level as far as news is concerned. But once the next gen maelstrom is out the way, and it becomes more and more obvious that both Sony and Microsoft are playing for the long term into cloud gaming anyway, then I think we'll start to see ramping up. The other thing to note as well, Duncan, of course, and it doesn't really relate to the question of why I feel a bit up, but we have seen, as almost coming in off the back of the Ubisoft, we've seen an upturn in just general communication across the board from Stadia, haven't we? We've seen a load more tweets from Stadia staff, which is always heartwarming. Not just, well, I don't know why you're grinning, and not just Mr. Harrison himself. I know why he's grinning, folks, but let's just let him get it out of his system before I go back over to Duncan. The Walking Dead, it's not an appropriate t-shirt, is it? So it's great to see. It's great to see that. Oh, it's so many Easter eggs in this show. It's no odds to anybody. So it's good to see that is happening because again, that's been one of the constant gripes from the community. Where are they? Why don't we hear anything? Why are they talking about everybody else's platform and not ours? And that seems to be on the change. Right, back over to you.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer on this here. It was a good show, but I don't for Stadia. But I'm not saying it was a great show or anything like that. But for me, there's still a lot of questions coming out from it. One of the big games from the Ubisoft conference was their new IP, Riders Republic, or I'm calling it Steep 2. In the small print, we've seen the big reveal. There's 50 people can play this at the same time. On current gen, it's only going to be 20, and on next gen, it is going to be 50. Where does Stadia fall into that?
I would say it falls into only being a year old. We've got to start somewhere.
But so will it be getting the 20 people at one time, or will it be getting the 50? See, that's the question, which needs to be asked here. It's whereabouts will it fall? Is it counted as a next-gen console, or is it counted as a current-gen console?
I think we'll see more about next-gen consoles over the next few weeks.
Yeah, it's something that needs to be clarified where this is going to fall. It's there was just a lot more questions about Stadia came for me, which came out from this. We've already seen for the Ubisoft conference that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is already confirmed as running 4K 60 FPS on the new consoles. Where does it rely? Where is it going to be on Stadia? This is why we sort of need to know a roadmap of sorts if and when Gen 2 is coming to Stadia. I think there's a lot of there is doubt in the community. I'm not saying everybody in the community or it's nobody in the community. There is a fair number of people that are getting a bit concerned about the spec bump, and I think this Ubisoft conference for me actually is increasing these slight concerns with the new next generation of consoles coming on.
Yeah, as I say, I think it's early days. I totally get your point. I think we remain patient, and we'd like to see a lot more. But I do think that, as I've said before, there was always going to be a ramping up towards the end of the year. We did get a hit from the pandemic. There's no question of that. As you know, we were always reliant on content, still are. And obviously a lot of that content got put back and put onto different timescales. And then with the next gens coming along and deals done to actually align those release dates with the releases of the new consoles, it's been hard. It's been a hard space to be a baby in, which is what we are. But I do think in 6 months' time, we'll have moved on from where we are today, and we'll be having completely different conversations. We shall see. I, as always, remain very optimistic.
Yeah, it's something you were touching on in the last section there. Over the last couple of days, I am actually really, really happy that the execs and the bigwigs at Stadia have started tweeting and started hyping up the program, or they're hyping up the console, or hyping up Stadia. I'm half asleep. I need my coffee to kick in here. So
I recommend the old orange juice, my friend.
The orange juice, yes. But I'm hoping there's something up their sleeves. We are coming up to the anniversary of Stadia in 2 months' time. So hopefully we will get a hint that there's something more coming shortly, just to keep up with the next gen of consoles.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that, Duncan. Very up. Very, very up indeed. And but always good to have my up slightly tempered. That's how I put these things. Right, let's get on to the next piece of content. And our Rokk review today is none other than Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, which is an excellent game that has been around for some time, not least of which it was a fairly early game on Stadia. Duncan, you love a bit of Tomb Raider, don't you? Should we just remind people how this works? So I play the part of the pro subscriber, the person that's paid and continues to pay. They're $10 or $8.99 a month. And Duncan plays the part of the free subscriber, which, just to remind you folks, you now no longer need to undertake the trial period to become a free subscriber. So no credit card or payment details needed. Just get in there with your Gmail account, which is totally free. If you don't have one, it's worth having one anyway, because it unlocks all of the Google goodies. And you can then jump in and play on Google Stadia, even if right now, if you just got yourself a free account, you won't have anything to play on. But, you know, some of the games are very cheap, so it's worth having a look. As a Rokk Pro subscriber and a Duncan free subscriber, let's go to Duncan first on how quickly can we get into this game, Duncan?
Very, very slowly. It's like really, really snail's pace. No, for this one, just click couple of buttons, you're away and you load in nice and quick, and it's one of the best games just to jump into, and it loads up really quick. It's just class. It is an older sort of game, believe it or not, even with the updates there, but it loads up. You're in what's it, about 30 seconds or something. It's really ridiculous, and there's no big loading screens or anything like that. So it's a real quick and easy game to get into.
Yeah, same. I mean, it's an absolute doozer. You just press the buttons and you're in. Doesn't take very long at all, which is amazing given how gorgeous this game is. I mean, graphically, it's absolutely stunning, isn't it? So we're both going to give that a 5 out of 5. 5 from Duncan as well. Next question in our series is, can we pick up from where we left off?
For the most part, yes. There is like action sequences during the game, so you may lose part of where you've picked, or I can't speak. If you've quit in the middle of a mission, you're going to lose a part of it. You're not going to pick up exactly where you left off. You're going to pick up for the most part in and around where you've left off. So I'm giving this a 4. So it's a perfect game. You can just jump in, have a run around, shoot some birds and stuff. That's one of the collectibles to upgrade your gear, or try and do a puzzle, and then just log back off again, and you'll pick up where you left off. So yeah, it's a really good game that way. So it's not.
Little bit of data there. Sorry, Duncan, you probably can't hear this, but you've just gone mute on me. But don't worry, because I will say, yeah, it's exactly what he says. You can pick up where you left off. We're both going to give that a solid 4 out of 4, which is pretty darn good. Only on the basis that there are obviously some as in most games. So when you're in the middle of a piece of combat or something, it's not going to drop you straight in, literally. Pixel perfect, but it's very close. Right, the next question is, how easy is it to play?
It's fairly easy. It's more or less a just follow the corridor and away you go, and it's real good fun. It's you don't have to do too much thinking of it. There is some upgrades you can do, which can get a little confusion. Do you really need to do it? What are you doing? How do you pick it up? But all in all, it's a fairly easy game to play. So for me, I'm giving it a 4.
Yep, I absolutely agree. It is easy to play. It's a linear game. It's not open world. I mean, you can run around within sections of it within the map, but pretty much you have to follow a linear pathway. So it is great fun. You can do it in little bite sizes. You don't have to spend hours and hours in the game. And truthfully, there's lots of tutorials. There's a lovely map sort of guidance system that highlights where you need to go and what you need to do next. I really love this game. It's very easy to play. I've given it a 5. No, yes, I gave it a 5, and you gave it a 4. So we're very close on that one as well. And is it rewarding to play, Duncan?
It is. The rewarding to play is hard to sometimes judge, but yes, it is rewarding to play, but it's not like a Destiny or open world game or an RPG where you're constantly upgrading and trying to get it. It's rewarding because you're completing each section, and there's occasional tricky platforming action scenes which you need to do. So all in all, for me it's a mediocre 3 out from 5 for that one.
Yeah, well, I felt personally there was lots of loot, lots of progression. You can unlock loads of costumes. Some of them are amazing. Lots of ways to upgrade your weaponry, and loot caches. It's got everything that I love in a game. So I gave it a 5. I went a couple of higher than you did on that one, but that's all good. So that was a 5 for me and a 3 for you. And then finally, is it value for money?
I'm going to say this. It is priced reasonably. It's a good price. I had this up here earlier, and now I have lost it. It's in and around £15, and it's the same price as other systems. The only thing I would say about it, it's a fairly old game now. Mm-hmm. Wait for a sale would be my take on it. Tomb Raider is one of the games which usually goes on sale on Stadia, so I would maybe wait till the next sale and pick it up then. So I'm giving it a 3. If you don't want to wait for it, £15 is not a bad price for it. So you can pick it up for that, and you won't feel ripped off. So just my advice is maybe just wait for a sale.
Now, I actually got it for free under the old Pro subscription, so I can't complain about the price. In fact, I think, didn't we get all of the Tomb Raider reboots under Pro subscription?
I think the only one we haven't got as yet is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the latest one. I think that one's is due to come out shortly. And I think everybody's kicking off here because Baldur's Gate 3 has just got rated by ESRB, or kind of ESRB.
Yeah. Jem's mentioned that. Now that one, I mean, we knew it was coming, so I don't think that's anything. We know exactly the date that it's coming, 30th of September. So no great news there, I don't think, but useful to see that it's happening. Right, okay, so I actually gave it for value of 5, simply on the fact that I got it for nothing. It was part of the Pro subscription. You've given it a 3 because it is an older game, and at the moment it's kind of priced at AA range. Is that kind of where you are?
Yeah, it's the reason I've just marked it down slightly is because it goes on sale a fair amount, and it is a slightly.
Yep. Okay, lost Duncan a bit there as well. Sorry about this.
Pick it up and you won't feel ripped off about it. But it just goes on sale so much. That's why I've marked it down as a 3.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough, mate. Right, so on that note, I think, let me just pause our young lady here. So our final score is, let me see, it's all going on here. There you go, 24 for Rokk, 19 for Duncan. And actually, that's a fairly high score all round. We don't normally get that high for a game, so I think that's an excellent score. I know we're not showing Tomb Raider on the screen. That's because I accidentally deleted it, but never mind. 24 for Rokk, 19 for Duncan. Rokk review, Tomb Raider. Everybody's happy. Let's move on. Hey, that was nice. I like that. New little intro for Ask Cloudy. Duncan, my friend, this is what I would... somebody asked you, I think, in the week on Twitter, as we always say. And, of course, don't forget, guys, if you do have a question that you want to put to Duncan or Cloudy with a chance of games on Stadia specifically, you can get to Duncan at Cloudy Games or at One to Escape. We'll cover that off in a short while. Duncan, somebody asked, what are pre-orders on Stadia? Because there is some confusion. We've covered this off a little earlier. There's sort of variety of these things, but how do you define them?
Pre-orders are games which you can purchase, or maybe in Stadia's case and other places, you're intending to purchase. It's just to give like... I can't. My head is just pickled today. I think I need a good sleep. Pre-orders are just basically games which are coming to this. Games are coming to Stadia, and you can actually put your bank details in or your credit card details in to actually buy the games early before they've actually released. For Stadia, this isn't actually a big issue because as soon as you buy a game, you've got instant access. But for me, pre-orders are actually a good thing because it actually gives you some sort of roadmap on things or when games are coming. And more importantly, I think with the current situation, which we've touched on, you can actually plan what games you're going to get because you know how much they're going to be. And games aren't just magically appear out from nowhere and then you have to start thinking. So as we know, Gods and Monsters, we're going to talk about the price of it if you want. It's £60 on Stadia for the cheapest edition. So you know, if I want to get Gods and Monsters on the 3rd of December, I'm going to need £60 in my account. For Gods and Monsters, you don't actually get charged until the game's actually released. So you can get it budgeted out there. But for some games like Hitman 3 and Destiny 2 Beyond Light, you actually charge straight away. Some people might actually prefer that because then they know that that game's already paid for and it's coming. It's just about giving people options.
And a good point that you make, actually, Duncan, because we've talked in the past about why pre-order. And in the main, you get some incentives for doing it. But as I've always pointed out, whenever I've pre-ordered on other platforms, I've always literally waited until 1 minute before the last point of pre-order, which is usually the day before before launch, to get all of those benefits. But as you said just now, if you pre-order ahead of time when you know you've got the money in your account, you pay for it, you don't have to worry about it in the future. So actually, the fact that Fenyx Rising doesn't take money would not be a great incentive for people that are pre-ordering on that basis to actually get the game ahead of time.
Yeah, I know some people. Our friend Holt has said that because he knows how much it's going to be now, he can start picking up the Google Play cards and just because you can pay your Stadia games through Google Play, so he knows he can start setting that aside to just start planning for it. So they're giving pre-orders. It just gives people time to work out what they're going to do and get organized.
Yeah, no, that makes a heap of sense. So the options are that you pre-order ahead of time and it just makes you feel good because you've always wanted this game and it makes you feel like, right, that's it. I've made a solid decision. I'm absolutely getting this game. That makes it feel like it's coming a little bit closer, even if it isn't. There's number one. Number two is you being shrewd, because if you pre-order ahead of time, you might unlock some, for example, in the case of Beyond Light, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, which is the big DLC coming out in November, if you pre-order ahead of time, you unlock stuff that you can use right now with your character, so like ghost and cosmetic stuff. So to a degree, you're getting some value ahead of time, so that's, potentially you could look at that as a bonus. And then in other instances, you're putting the money up now, so you don't have to worry about it nearer the time. You know that's it, it's committed, it's paid for. Can I just ask one question? With Stadia, if you pre-order ahead of time, can you cancel and get a refund?
Not for Destiny 2, you can't. I know that for a fact because you've unlocked that cosmetic stuff. So Fenyx Rising is the first proper pre-order for Stadia. Again, as people have mentioned in the chat, Roger there, this could be a one-off because Uplay Plus could be coming. And that's why you're able to cancel your pre-order, and that's why they're not taking the money beforehand. It's just, I think we have to wait until we get another game which is going to be pre-ordered. Say if Cyberpunk, you can pre-order that when we get the release date. And by the way, I think we're going to get the release date this week for Cyberpunk and Stadia.
Okay.
I think if we get the pre-order, say for Cyberpunk, if they take the money out straight away, we then know this is a Uplay Plus thing rather than a normal thing. I think we just have to wait and see about this and how this is all going to plan out. And the reason why I think we might get the Cyberpunk release date this week on Stadia is because we're going to get the release date of the PlayStation 5 this week. And we also have a Cyberpunk talk at the end of the week as well. So I think we may get that. I think they were maybe having to wait until both the console release dates were announced before we would actually get that.
That makes a lot of sense. Another astute observation there from you, my friend. So thank you very much for that. I think that's cleared up any... It's worth asking the question, even if it seems a bit obvious, because I think on Stadia particularly, there is some variety around the whole pre-order question. It's kind of settling down a bit still, isn't it? But it was worth asking. So thank you very much for that. That was most appreciated. Well, ladies, gentlemen, and gaming fans, full stop, thank you very much for joining us. That's been fun-packed and completely information-full Stadia Rokks Live. Just remember, this is the show for casual gamers, busy people like us all, and people new to Stadia. So if you've got any questions specifically around Stadia, please drop us a line. You can see below how you can get hold of us. Duncan, do you want to just read out what it says under your face? Oh, no. Duncan's...
Not particularly, because I know what you're like, as Friday night has shown me. I just have to double check what you've got there, because you can't trust
you can read it. Cloudy with a chance of games.com.
Games.com, or Cloudy with Games, or One to Escape on Twitter.
Fancy maligning my character like that in front of 7 million people. And you can find me always, as always, at Stadia Rokks on Twitter, Stadia Rokks on YouTube, Stadia Rokks on Facebook.com even, and even on my website, stadiarokks.uk. And we have a Discord as well. Please look in the description below and you'll find information to join our Discord, totally free, very active, lots of info on forthcoming shows, opportunities to get involved, and so on. That's it for us both. Oh, hang on, Duncan's coming back.
I'm just going to tell you something here. For the people who are in chat here, we may get a game announcement in the next hour. Over on EGX, they are having a talk with Arcane Studios. So at 12 o'clock UK time, they're talking about the future of Arcane. So we may get more news we might actually get a wee game announcement there, or they might talk a bit more about Deathloop. So just keep your eyes peeled for that.
And this is Dead by Daylight, is that what we're talking about here?
No, this is Bethesda. This is the people who made Prey and Dishonored.
Ah, great. Oh, well, look forward to that. That's within the hour. So if you are listening to the podcast, sorry, you missed out there. But if you're watching the show, thank you for joining us. It's always a great pleasure to see so many people take the effort this time of the morning, which is incredibly early on a Sunday, and even more incredibly early anywhere else in the world. Your attention is absolutely fantastic. We love you for it. Have a great week. Just to let you know, for personal reasons, I'm going to be a bit scarce this coming week. But Duncan and Raph will still be doing their rocking around the clock on Wednesday. And hopefully as well, I'll be back in time for Friday's show. Duncan, say goodbye, my friend.
Goodbye, Duncan, and good luck with your beard transplant.
It's already there, mate. I don't know where else to put it now, to be honest. Have a great weekend. Have a great week. Take care. Rock out.